Have you ever felt like someone's demands are slowly pulling you away from who you are? Picture this. A friend, a family member, or even a partner asks for something that feels innocent at first, a favor, a loan, a piece of your time, but deep down, it costs you your peace. Carl Jung, the genius behind modern psychology, warned that certain requests can derail your journey to becoming your true self. These aren't just favors. They're subtle traps that chip away at your identity and drain your soul. In this video, we're diving into Carl Jung's profound wisdom to reveal 5 things no one should ever ask of you, and why giving in could sabotage your path to self-discovery. From carrying burdens that aren't yours to sacrificing your authenticity, these demands might seem harmless, but they're anything but. Through real-life stories, you'll learn how to spot these red flags, set boundaries, and protect your inner peace like never before. By the end, you'll see relationships and yourself in a whole new light. This isn't just about saying no. It's about saying yes to the life you deserve. So stick with us until the end to unlock Carl Jung's secrets and take back your power. Ready to discover what's holding you back? Let's dive in, because your peace is worth fighting for. Let's start with the first thing no one should ever ask of you: carrying burdens that aren't yours. Carl Jung, the mastermind behind the concept of the shadow, taught that our psyche holds hidden parts of our selfish emotions, desires, or fears we suppress to fit in. When you take on someone else's problems, you're often projecting your own shadow, the need to be seen as good or helpful, while neglecting your own peace. This isn't about refusing to care. It's about recognizing when caring becomes carrying, and how that can pull you away from the life you're meant to live. Picture this. You're asked to step in and fix someone else's mess, a friend's financial troubles, a sibling's endless drama, or a colleague's missed deadlines. At first, it feels like a one-time favor. You say yes to be kind, to avoid conflict, or because you've been taught that good people help. But then it happens again and again. Before you know it, you're the default problem solver, the one everyone turns to when life gets messy. Carl Jung would say this dynamic taps into your shadow, the part of you that craves approval or fears being seen as selfish. But every time you carry someone else's burden, you're giving away pieces of your energy, your time, and your path to becoming your true self. Let's bring this to life with a story. Meet Lisa, a 40-year-old nurse with a heart of gold. Her younger sister, Mia, has always struggled with money, impulsive spending, bad investments, you name it. Every few months, Mia calls Lisa in tears, asking for help to pay rent or cover a debt. Lisa, raised to believe that family comes first, always steps in. She dips into her savings, works extra shifts, and even skips her own vacation plans to bail Mia out. But here's the kicker. Mia never changes. She keeps making the same mistakes, and Lisa's the one paying the price, literally and emotionally. Lisa thinks she's being a good sister, but deep down, her shadow, her fear of being selfish or letting her family down, is running the show. Carl Jung's concept of individuation, the process of becoming your authentic self, requires you to prioritize your own growth. When you're constantly carrying others' burdens, you're not just sacrificing time or money, you're abandoning that journey. Every yes to someone else's problem is a no to your own dreams, your peace, your health, and the people asking you to carry their weight. They're often projecting their own shadows, their inability to take responsibility onto you. They might guilt you, saying, "You're the only one I can count on." But that's not a compliment. It's a trap. Here's a real-world example to drive this home. Think about a coworker, Alex, who always misses deadlines and begs you to help out by finishing his reports. You agree, thinking it's just this once. But soon, it's every project. Your workload doubles, your stress spikes, and Alex gets the credit while you're burned out. When you finally say no, he acts hurt, saying, "I thought we were a team." That guilt trip is his shadow talking, not your obligation. Carl Jung would argue that by taking on Alex's responsibilities, you're enabling his avoidance while losing sight of your own boundaries. So, how do you break this cycle? Start by recognizing what's yours and what isn't. Carl Jung's wisdom teaches us that true compassion doesn't mean fixing everyone's problems. It means empowering them to face their own. The next time someone asks you to carry their burden, pause. Ask yourself, is this my responsibility? Is saying yes helping them or hurting me? If the answer points to your peace being at stake, it's time to say no. That doesn't make you selfish, it makes you wise. Here's a question to reflect on. Have you ever felt trapped by someone else's problems, like you had to say yes to keep the peace? Maybe it's a family member, a friend, or even a boss. What did it cost you? Your time, your energy, your dreams. Carl Jung would remind us that your life is your own to live. By setting boundaries, you're not just protecting your peace, you're stepping closer to the person you're meant to be. As we move forward, we'll explore the next demand you should never accept: lending money without a real emergency. It's another way people pull you into their shadows, and Carl Jung's insights will show you how to stay free. Stick with us, because this journey is about reclaiming your power, one boundary at a time. The second thing no one should ever ask of you is to lend money when it's not a true emergency. Carl Jung's teachings on the shadow and individuation remind us that our choices should align with our journey to become our true selves. When someone pressures you to bail them out of poor decisions, they're not just asking for cash, they're pulling you into their shadow, forcing you to sacrifice your stability for their avoidance. This isn't about being stingy, it's about protecting the peace and security you've earned. Let's dive into why this request is so dangerous and how Carl Jung's wisdom can help you say no. Money isn't just currency, it's a symbol of your time, your sacrifices, and your future. When someone asks for a loan, especially for non-emergencies like funding a risky venture or covering reckless spending, they're asking you to trade your hard-won stability for their consequences. Carl Jung would see this as a clash of shadows. Their inability to face their own irresponsibility meets your fear of being seen as selfish or uncaring. The result? You feel guilted into saying yes, even when it hurts you. But every dollar you lend under pressure is a piece of your peace you're giving away, and that's a cost too high to pay. Let's make this real with a story. Meet Tom, a 45-year-old teacher who's worked hard to save for his daughter's college fund. His old friend Ryan approaches him with a once-in-a-lifetime business idea startup that can't fail. Ryan needs $5,000 to get it off the ground and swears he'll pay Tom back. Tom hesitates, knowing Ryan's history of failed ventures, but Ryan lays on the guilt. "You're my best friend. Don't you believe in me?" Against his better judgment, Tom hands over the money. The business flops, Ryan disappears, and Tom's left with a hole in his saving sand, his trust. Ryan's shadow, his refusal to own his poor choices, dragged Tom into a mess that wasn't his. Carl Jung's concept of individuation teaches that becoming your true self means prioritizing your own path over others' demands. Lending money to fix someone else's mistakes pulls you away from that path. It's not just about the money, it's about what it represents. Your security, your dreams, your ability to live without fear. When you say yes to a loan you don't believe in, you're enabling their shadow while betraying your own needs. And the kicker? Those who ask often don't see the harm. They might say, "It's just money," or turn the tables, calling you greedy if you refuse. But Carl Jung would argue that protecting your boundaries isn't greed, it's growth. Here's another example to drive this home. Sarah, a small business owner, gets a call from her cousin Jake, who needs $2,000 to tide him over after overspending on a lavish vacation. Jake says, "Family helps family," and Sarah, raised to put family first, feels trapped. She lends him the money, delaying her own business expansion. Jake never pays her back, and when Sarah asks, he accuses her of not trusting him. Sarah's shadow, her fear of being seen as uncaring, cost her not just money, but her confidence and business growth. Jake's request wasn't about need, it was about avoiding his own consequences. So, how do you protect yourself? Carl Jung's wisdom points to self-awareness. Before lending money, pause and ask, is this a real emergency? Or are they avoiding responsibility? Will this hurt my stability? If it's not life or death like medical bills or basic survival, say no. You're not a bank, and your peace isn't a bargaining chip. Be firm but kind. I can't help financially, but I'm here to support you in other ways. This sets a boundary while showing you care. If they push back or guilt you, that's their shadow talking, not your duty. Let's make this personal. Have you ever felt pressured to lend money to someone whose choices caused their mess? Maybe a friend, a relative, or even a co-worker. What did it cost you? Your savings, your stress, your trust? Reflect on that moment. Carl Jung would remind us that your resources are yours to protect, not theirs to demand. By saying no, you're not just saving money, you're safeguarding your journey to wholeness. As we move on, we'll explore the next demand you should never accept: mediating family conflicts. It's another way people drain your energy, and Carl Jung's insights will show you how to stay above the fray. Stick with us, because every boundary you set brings you closer to the life you deserve. The third thing no one should ever ask of you is to mediate family conflicts. Carl Jung's teachings on individuation, the journey to become your true self, emphasize focusing on your own inner growth, not getting tangled in others' emotional battles. When you're pulled into family disputes, you're not just wasting energy, you're being dragged into dramas that derail your path to peace and authenticity. This isn't about abandoning family, it's about recognizing that some fights aren't yours to fix. Let's explore why this demand is so draining and how Carl Jung's wisdom can help you step back. Family conflicts have a unique pull. They're charged with history, loyalty, and guilt, making it hard to stay neutral. Maybe your siblings are fighting over money. Your parents expect you to talk sense into a relative, or your kids want you to referee their arguments. At first, you step in because you care. You think, if I can just calm things down, everyone will be okay. But here's the truth. Playing peacemaker often makes you the target. You're blamed for taking sides, criticized for not doing enough, or left exhausted by emotions that weren't yours to begin with. Carl Jung would say, this traps you in others' shadows, their unresolved anger, pride, or pain, while pulling you away from your own inner work. Let's bring this to life with a story. Meet Maria, a 50-year-old mother of two grown siblings who can't stop fighting over their late father's estate. One wants to sell the family home, the other wants to keep it. Both expect Maria to mediate, calling her daily with complaints. Your mom, fix this. Maria tries, organizing meetings and pleading for compromise, but every attempt ends in shouting matches. Worse, both siblings turn on her, accusing her of favoritism. Maria's sleep suffers, her stress skyrockets, and her own dreams like traveling or taking art classes are put on hold. Her shadow, the fear of failing as a mother, keeps her stuck in a role that's not hers. Meanwhile, her siblings' shadows, their greed and resentment, fuel the fight she can't resolve. Carl Jung's concept of individuation teaches that your emotional energy is precious. It should be spent integrating your own, psyche-facing your fears, healing your wounds, pursuing your purpose, refereeing battles that others refuse to resolve. When you mediate family conflicts, you're not just giving time, you're sacrificing your mental health and your journey to wholeness. The guilt that pulls you in, your family, you have to help, is a projection of others' shadows, their avoidance of accountability. Carl Jung would argue that true love means letting people face their own consequences, not shielding them at your expense. Here's another example to make this clear. David, a 35-year-old engineer, is constantly dragged into his parents' arguments. His mum calls to complain about his dad's spending. His dad vents about his mum's nagging. Each begs David to talk to the other. He tries, but every conversation ends with one parent saying, "You're not helping enough." David's anxiety spikes, his work suffers, and he feels like he's failing both parents. His shadow, his need to be the good son, keeps him in the middle, while his parents' shadows, their inability to communicate, turn him into their emotional punching bag. By stepping in, David's enabling their avoidance while losing his own peace. So, how do you break free? Carl Jung's wisdom calls for boundaries rooted in self-awareness. The next time you're asked to mediate, pause and ask, is this my fight? Will stepping in help or harm my peace? If it's not your conflict, like a sibling feud or parental spat, step back. Try saying, I love you, but this is something you need to work out together. If they push or guilt you, that's their shadow talking, not your duty. Redirect your energy to what serves your growth. A hobby, a passion, or simply time to breathe. You're not abandoning family, you're choosing your sanity. Let's get personal for a moment. Have you ever been pulled into a family conflict you didn't start? Maybe you were asked to fix a feud or take sides in a fight. How did it feel? Draining, frustrating, hopeless? What did it cost you? Carl Jung would remind us that your emotional energy is yours to protect, not theirs to claim. By staying out of battles that aren't yours, you're not just saving energy, you're reclaiming your path to becoming your true self. Next, we'll tackle the final demands you should never accept, changing who you are, and prioritizing others' emotions. These are subtle but devastating, and Carl Jung's insights will show you how to stand firm. Stick with us, because every boundary you set is a step toward the life you're meant to live. The final demands no one should ever ask of you are to change who you are and to prioritize others' emotions over your own. Carl Jung's concept of individuation, the lifelong journey to become your authentic self, is at the heart of his teachings. When someone pressures you to alter your identity or put their feelings above your own, they're not just crossing a boundary, they're blocking your path to wholeness. These requests might seem subtly suggestion to tone it down or a plea to keep the peace, but they're devastating to your soul. Let's dive into why these demands are so dangerous and how Carl Jung's wisdom can empower you to stand firm. First, let's talk about being asked to change who you are. Your identity, your passions, quirks, beliefs, and habits is the result of decades of joy, pain, and growth. It's the essence of you, shaped by every choice you've made. Yet, some people will ask you to chip away at that essence to fit their comfort zone. Maybe it's a friend who says, "You're too loud, calm down." Or a partner who criticizes your hobbies, saying, "That's not your age." These comments might seem harmless, but they're an attack on your authenticity. Carl Jung would see this as a threat to individuation, the process of integrating all parts of your psyche to become whole. When you bend to these demands, you're not just tweaking your behavior, you're betraying the self you fought to become. Let's bring this to life with a story. Meet John, a 55-year-old accountant who's always loved painting vibrant, abstract art. It's his escape, his joy, his way of expressing his inner world. But his new partner, Claire, finds his art embarrassing. She asks him to stop showing it to friends or posting it online, saying, "It's not professional for someone your age." John, wanting to please her, puts his brushes away. At first he tells himself it's no big deal, but soon he feels empty, like a piece of him is missing. Claire's request wasn't about art, it was about control, rooted in her shadow, her fear of being judged. John's shadow is need for approval, her demand erase a part of who he is. Carl Jung would say this sacrifice dims John's path to individuation, leaving him further from his true self. Now, let's explore prioritizing others' emotions over your own. This demand is even sneakier because it often comes wrapped in love or loyalty. Someone might say, "If you really cared, you'd do this for me," or "Don't make me uncomfortable, just go along with it." These pleas ask you to shrink your joy, silence your needs, or shape your choices to soothe their feelings. Carl Jung would call this a form of emotional manipulation, where others project their shadows, their insecurities, or need for control onto you. By complying, you're not fostering harmony. You're performing a role in their emotional script at the cost of your own peace. Here's an example to make it clear. Sarah, a 38-year-old marketing manager, loves hosting lively dinner parties with her eclectic group of friends. Her brother Mark, however, feels uncomfortable at these events because he's introverted. He asks Sarah to stop inviting certain friends or to keep things low-key to avoid stressing him out. Sarah, feeling guilty, starts hosting smaller, quieter gatherings. Her friends drift away, and her home feels less like hers. Mark's shadow, his discomfort with social settings, became Sarah's burden. Her shadow, her fear of hurting family, made her prioritize his emotions over her own joy. Carl Jung would argue that this sacrifice stifles Sarah's individuation, as she's living for someone else's comfort, not her truth. Carl Jung's wisdom is clear. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Every time you change to fit someone's mold or put their feelings above yours, you're stepping away from that privilege. These demands don't just erode your peace, they erode your identity. The people making them might not even realize the harm. Their shadows drive them to control or avoid discomfort. But you're not here to fix their inner conflicts. Your job is to integrate your own psyche, to embrace your light and shadow, and to live authentically. So, how do you protect yourself? Start with self-awareness, a cornerstone of Carl Jung's teachings. When someone asks you to change or prioritize their emotions, pause and ask, does this align with who I am? Is this serving my growth or their comfort? If the answer points to your authenticity being at stake, set a boundary. For changing who you are, try saying, I love who I am, and this is part of me. For prioritizing their emotions, say, I care about you, but I need to honor my own feelings too. These responses are firm yet kind, rooting you in your truth while deflecting their shadows. If they push back calling you stubborn or selfish, that's their projection, not your failure. Carl Jung would remind us that individuation requires courage to stand alone sometimes. You're not here to be a mirror for others' insecurities or a prop for their comfort. You're here to live your story, flaws and all. And here's the beauty. When you honor your authenticity, you inspire others to do the same. By refusing to change or shrink, you show what it means to live whole. Let's make this personal. Have you ever been asked to dim your light or put someone else's feelings first? Maybe a friend criticized your style, or a family member asked you to avoid something that brings you joy. How did it feel like losing a piece of yourself? What did it cost you? Reflect on that moment. Carl Jung would say your authenticity is your greatest asset. Protect it fiercely, because it's the foundation of your individuation. As we wrap up, we've uncovered the demands that threaten your peace and path. In our outro, we'll tie it all together with a powerful call to embrace Carl Jung's wisdom and reclaim your life. Stick with us, because this is where your transformation begins. We've just uncovered the 5 demands that threaten to steal your peace and derail your journey to becoming your true self, carrying others' burdens, lending money without cause, mediating family conflicts, changing who you are, and prioritizing others' emotions. Carl Jung's profound wisdom reminds us that your life is a sacred path toward individuation, the process of embracing every part of your soul, light and shadow alike. When you let these demands pull you off course, you're not just giving away time or energy. You're sacrificing the privilege of living authentically. But today, you're taking that power back. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." Start now. Say no to what dims your light. Set boundaries that protect your peace. Choose yourself, not out of selfishness, but out of strength. Every no to these demands is a yes to your dreams, your truth, and the life you were born to live. You're not here to fix others' shadows, you're here to shine. Which of these demands hit home for you? Have you ever felt pressured to give up a piece of yourself? Share your story in the comments, we'd love to hear it. If this video sparked a shift in you, hit that like button, share it with someone who needs it, and subscribe to Jung Psyche Hub for more life-changing insights. Click the bell to stay with us, because your journey to wholeness starts here. Protect your peace, it's your greatest treasure.